Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Made Man, where today I talk about episode 3 of season 3 of Mad Men, My Old Kentucky Home. Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished this episode, and I don't know if a lot happened. I mean, plot-wise, I feel like very little happened. Character-wise, I'm sure a lot happened. Most of the episode, actually, none of the episode really, I shouldn't say none of it. Most of the episode took place outside of work. There was only kind of one small part of work that needed to work. And they needed to work through the weekend because everyone else was out partying for the Kentucky Derby. They were basically having a big, stupid, rich person derby party. And Roger was throwing it, and everyone else, not everyone else, but a lot of the other quote-unquote major players were there. Not Sal, but Ken was there, and Pete was there with his wife. Harry was there with his wife. And, of course, Don and Betty were there. And the whole thing was thrown by Roger to me, and I think also to Don, so that he could show off his young wife. That's what I got out of it. And also kind of praise her and sing to her in, I would say, one of the most racist things, obviously, of that time, without, okay, just let's cut to the chase. Roger was in blackface, which is really weird it's really weird timing considering, right now there is a controversy. If you're listening to this when I first recorded it, there's a controversy in Virginia. I think it's Virginia or West Virginia with the governor and an old yearbook photo of someone in blackface. So it's weird that it's in the news right now, and boom, there it is. Roger with all this shoe polish on his face, singing My Old Kentucky Home, which is the name of the episode, to Jane in very minstrelly, very racist way of doing it. It was very uncomfortable, and I started laughing out of, right away, not laughing like, oh my God, this is funny, laughing like, oh my God, this is awful. But it's not like, they're showing it because this is the kind of thing that happened then, and no one thought anything of it. Everyone's laughing and smiling, and it's like, they just think, hey, that's normal. Who's it hurting? Big deal. But of course, it's awful. And I mean, what happened at this party? Not a lot. Pete and his wife showed off that they could dance. They didn't. They couldn't talk about being pregnant with like Harry and Betty, so they danced. Harry's wife, I think, was upset with him because she wouldn't dance with him, I think. Ken was there alone, so he was mad that he didn't have a date. And Betty, while waiting for Trudy in the bathroom, some creepy dude came up and flirted with her and touched her belly, and Betty was into it a little bit. And I'm like, not a lot happened. There's but it's good character stuff. I still like these characters enough that they could just have a small slice of life moment in something in time, and you appreciate it because they're great actors. What else happened at the party? Jane, Roger's new wife, got drunk and actually said, I'm so glad you guys got back together. You could tell Betty was upset that she even knew about it. Roger's like, what the hell's going on? Because Jane was being a little aggressive to Dawn, and he's like, your wife's drunk. She goes, no one likes to see me happy. He's like, we don't think you're happy, we think you're foolish. And he's like, I love throwing these parties because I can choose who I want to be there. I don't know. It was real passive aggressive back and forth to each other, but they don't seem to be seeing eye to eye, getting along. But as the episode ended, Dawn saw them dancing and they looked real happy, and I think that almost was like, I have something great too. So he goes to Betty and they start making out right in the grass there as the episode ended. And that's really most of what happened at the party. I mean, Pete was there. Pete saw a couple guys that he could schmooze with, but he didn't because they stayed away from work. And yeah, I mean, God, that's pretty much the party in the old Kentucky home. It wasn't at anyone's home. It looked like it was at a country club because, oh yeah, Don went to the bar to make himself a drink and thought he was talking to a bartender at first. And the guy's like, I don't work here. He's there for a wedding. He's trying to make a drink too. They share a drink. They talk a little bit, just a couple of guys talking about the old days, sort of. And Don gives a little anecdote about how he used to park cars, but he couldn't go to the bathroom where he parked cars, so he used to pee in the car trunks. So just a little bit of Don opening up. But really, that's about all I remember happening at the actual country club. There was a little bit of Don and Betty getting ready for the party. And Sally was and her brother, who's a new actor now, the kid from friggin' Once Upon a Time. They stayed behind with the granddad and their housekeeper. And at one point, Sally is reading an old-fashioned, like an old war book to her granddad. And she's, that's kind of their way of bonding. But then later she goes and steals money from him. In most of the episode, he's, where's the money? And was he going to blame the housekeeper because she's black? And that's what she thought. That's what she was getting the idea of. But he was like, I'm not doing that. Then he asked if he called her by the wrong name, asked her if he knew this other woman. She's like, we don't all know each other. And I think finally the guilt got to Sally because she threw the money out and pretended that she found it, even though she was just returning what she stole. And I think the grandfather caught on. So at the end, she was really nervous that he was going to yell at her, but he just said, let's keep reading. It was kind of funny where at the beginning, Don was just going to give the grandfather the $5 because they weren't sure if he was really forgetting or if he really lost it or if he was just forgetting because he's having all these symptoms of senility. Early on, Betty's like, look at this. There's a bunch of... he peeled a ton of potatoes overnight because he thought he was in the war in the kitchen duty, KP. So Don was like, here, just take $5. He goes, I don't want your money. You think everything could be solved with money. He's like, well, specifically in this case, I do. And I thought that was kind of funny. What else happened with Don and Betty? Not much else. Betty didn't love the way she looked in her dress, even though she looked really nice. She's pregnant, but she's still... still have guys hitting on her. And what else happened with them? Not much else. Just a little small talk. They're at a party. And yeah, they didn't dance. Betty smokes still while she's pregnant. Apparently, it's not just a Betty thing. Everybody smokes and drinks while they're pregnant because while they're throwing a party, they're having a party at a country club. Joan and her husband, the rapist, is throwing a party at their home, a dinner party for all his colleagues. And he's really nervous about how the table's going to be set up. And Joan doesn't back down. She gives it to him. And finally, when they come, there's small talk and they're joking. And one woman's pregnant, and one of the wives is like, "Don't get pregnant, Joan. That's the last thing you want." I told that to this one, but she doesn't listen. Because I guess doctors don't make a lot of money at first. But it was a lot of the wives talking about their things while the doctors are talking about their things. And then afterwards, one of the head doctors makes a comment about you need to keep your hands safe for this surgery. And Joan's husband was like, you could tell that affected him. And they're like, oh, I didn't mean anything by that. And they're like, well, what's going on? He goes, oh, we don't like to talk about it at work. It happens. So it sounds like Joan's husband had a botched surgery. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it comes back. I don't know. But then he's like, hey, Joan, show off your talent, and gets the accordion out so that she could sing and play the accordion and basically perform for them. And they looked at each other, and I couldn't tell if he was like, I'm not going to get embarrassed. I'll embarrass you. Or if he's like, you're my wife and this is real sexy and cool. I don't know what it was. It was weird, but she made the best of it. And I feel like that was it with them. Not a lot. I don't feel like there's a ton to talk about. As far as plot and where things are going, it's just kind of a day in the life or a night in the life. Or if you just want to, there was some stuff going on at the office. So Left Behind was Sal actually didn't get left behind. He didn't have to stay. It was Peggy, it was Kinsey, and it was Smitty. Now, Smitty, I finally know his name. There's the younger guy who's with the French guy who, said, I'm gay, I'm with the men, and they didn't believe him. The one who helped redo Peggy's hair. So they kind of work in creative together. And so he wasn't there, but it was the Smitty guy and Kinsey and Peggy, and they had to stay behind and figure out like 5 different ideas for Bacardi. And they started talking, and it came up that, I think the real inspiration would be to get some weed. And so they call Kinsey's old college friend over and get some weed, and that guy hangs out for a while. There's some argument, then there's some singing, and then there's some like men bravado stuff, but then he leaves, and Peggy's like, I don't need any of you here. She's like, I'm going to smoke marijuana. So she smokes some weed, and she hangs out with them, and she's laughing, and she's coming up with ideas, and then she gets some ideas. She's like, you guys can both go home. I don't need either of you here. So she goes back to her office. Now she has a new secretary who's an older woman who's very prudish. She's like, I know what you're doing. And she didn't want to, she basically stayed the whole time for Peggy. And Peggy kind of talked down to her. She's like, I have everything I have. I have a job. I have an office with my name on it. And I have a secretary, and that's you. She's like, oh, you're scared, but I'm not scared. Don't worry about it. Set up this dictation, and then you can go home. Peggy was real confident, real high, and really about to get creative. And it'd be interesting to see what she turns out, from there. And is that it? I mean, oh yeah, the beginning of the episode, they were hanging out in auditions, and I think they were auditioning for that commercial that they're going to do based on the Anne Margaret movie that they watched, Bye Bye Birdie, last week. And Harry's like, can you do the twist again? And he was really into watching this girl do the twist. And Peggy's like, you're here as a courtesy. Remember that? And later she tells the secretary, yeah, Harry doesn't need to be in these creative meetings anymore, and cuts him out of that. And I think I covered everything. Pete was at the party, danced with his wife. Roger had the party, put on blackface, got a little defensive. Don was at the party, hung out with some dude at the bar. Then he helped Roger's wife. Betty's at the party. She got some dude flirting with her and touching her belly. And later she's kissing and helping Don with Roger's wife, and then she's kissing. And this right now, this is the episode where Roger wears blackface. That's the thing that stands out the most to me. Yeah, I think that's it, my friends. I think I covered. I'm going from person to person. Peggy got high, and she got great ideas. Kinsey got high, and this guy who went to school with him said you used to have a real New York accent. You're trying to bring the class out of you. And Smitty got high, and now I know his name. And Peggy's got a new secretary, an older woman who canceled her plans because she figured she'd have to be there, even though no one else was there. Oh, and Joan and her husband threw a dinner party, and I think they were trying to one-up each other, maybe, or they're trying to embarrass each other, maybe, or Joan just sticks up for herself. I don't know, but her husband obviously raped her in Dawn's office, so he's an asshole to me forever. I didn't see any Puck, so that was cool. And his name's Duck, so he's not Puck. I screwed that up still. I didn't see any Duck, which was fine by me, because he's a jerk. That's it, my friends. Short and sweet. I think I covered everything. Watching this, I'm going, Jesus, I don't know how much I'm going to talk. Short, sweet, to the point. I want to thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying subscribed. Thank you for all the great response. I got some tweets from people, and I got an iTunes review, and I talked about those already. There's nothing new, but I like to talk about it, so maybe it'll give you the idea of, wow, he's really popular. Maybe I should give an iTunes review. You should. You should go on iTunes right now and give a review. If you don't use iTunes, go to the Apple Store, buy an iPhone or buy an iMac, and go and get iTunes and fill out a review. Or if you have a PC, just download iTunes and make an Apple account, and I can put a credit card in. I don't know. I don't know if you need a credit card. I have no idea how it works anymore. And give a review. Give a nice review. And I'll tell you what to do. Give it 5 stars and then write, this podcast is awesome, awesome, awesome. 4 exclamation points. That should cover it. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. Now, a little homework. You can find me on Twitter at MadeManPod. You can find the website on Twitter at fans.experts. The website is fans.experts.com. And the Facebook is facebook.com/man/ fans, not experts. My friends, I've been in a great mood all week because my Patriots won the Super Bowl yet again. And I'm excited because hopefully they can do it again next year and everyone will hate them, and I don't care because I'm a Patriots fan and I'm a Mad Men fan. And Mad Men, plural. And I thank you for listening. I thank you for coming with me on this journey as I go across space and time to find, I can't even think of a way to end this, to get to that point where I can finally call myself I'm losing my voice, a made man. Ooh, a lot of coughing in that one.
Fans not experts.